Welcome to the Game Masters Book Club, where great fiction becomes your next great tabletop role-playing experience. Today we journey to the mysterious Daevabad, the city of brass. The Middle Eastern-inspired setting is historically complex, with court intrigue, magical beasts, and cultural conflict. Our Game Masters Rob Tremarco, Karen Ford, and JC Cayley talk about their own favorite mythological settings, magical ailments, the new Seven Seas edition, and Rob's Ducktail fan fiction. Let's get into the conversation.
Okay, welcome everybody to another episode of the Game Masters Book Club. We are back with Karen Form, Rob DeMarco, Jason Keeley. This time we're traveling to the city of brass, the creation of S.A. Chakraborty, and the first book in the Daevabad trilogy. This book explores an interesting Middle Eastern mythology. So I thought we'd start off this time by asking our game masters which mythology they like to explore in their games the most. And we're going to start with Rob. Rob, why don't you give everybody a quick introduction, tell them who you are and what mythology you enjoy playing around with in your TTRPGs.
Sure. My name's Rob Tremarco, gamer since the ancient days of ancient times, or early 80s, I guess, for me.
So before the age of Suleiman.
Yeah, before the age of Suleiman, before the oceans drank Atlantis. I am a big fan of the Norse mythology, my friend. Let me tell you, I got a tattoo of Thor. I got a dragon on my arm that is Jormungandr. At every possible opportunity, I add Nordic sounding cool songs to my playlists that I'm listening to for gaming. And I'm currently playing the son of the Enchantress and the Executioner in our Marvel role-playing game. And they come from Asgard. So how about that?
That is a lot of Norse myths. Remind me to send you some clips if you haven't already heard them. There's a group called Voice Play. They do a bunch of really cool Nordic a cappella stuff.
Oh, hell yeah. Send me that.
Yeah.
I love a band called Heilung, which
Ooh.
like their concerts are more like rituals. They're they sing in the old language, and it's the coolest shit you ever heard.
That sounds fantastic. Okay, exchange of music scheduled. Jason, why don't we go to you? Tell us who you are and about your mythology.
Hello, I'm Jason Necktie, and I am a senior designer for the Pathfinder role-playing game over at Paizo and a bunch of other nonsense that you can find out there on the internet. Right now, there is a interview with me with the No Direction podcast that has the thumbnail of me like screaming. Go check that out. I'm going to flip the script a little bit and say the type of mythology that I like to use would be more, I would consider, American mythology. Now, we all love our cryptids, of course, our Bigfoots and our Mothmens, but I kind of lean a little bit towards more modern, almost, let's say internet mythology, creepypasta, that kind of stuff. I'll love me a Slender Man. I'll love me a Jeff the Killer. And I feel like it's just fairly American-ish. The concept of like infusing objects with a kind of like a mythology of their own. So like, oh my God, this was Babe Ruth's bat and now it's got mythical powers. This was the first car that came off the production line for Ford, so that makes it magic. I enjoy that kind of stuff.
Do you think that's because Americans feel like we kind of missed that fun magical period, and so we kind of have to make everything magical?
I don't know. Some people do. As a country, we're relatively young compared to the Norse mythology, compared to, I know, whatever Karen is going to talk about.
You know what I'm going to talk about.
You already know.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I knew it. The idea of that we are creating new mythology now in recent times, the past like 20, 25 years or so, is utterly fascinating to me.
Great. Karen, would you care to reveal that which apparently Mr. Necktie already knows about?
I'm a sock designer by day and a gamer / GM by night, or some nights. Big shocker to everybody, since I showed up to our pregame late yesterday because I was playing Hades 2, is Greek mythology. Actually, the gaming group that Hersey and I have been in together for the past like 20 years, we have actually had a Greek game that I think we've gone back to the universe like 3 times.
Yeah.
My husband actually started it pre-Hades came out, and with the Fate Accelerated system, where we each played the child of a god, but then also everybody played one of the gods who was parent to one of the other people, and you got to give them boons and whatnot. And then I revisited it as a GM later, pre-Hades 2, where I did the kind of reverse Hades, where everybody had to sort of break their way down to save. I don't even remember what it was. You had to save Hades or something like that. I don't remember what happened.
We were just kind of doing stuff down there, meeting all the people that you meet.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Greek mythology. Woo.
Greek mythology, that's the way to go. My name is Eric Jackson, and I'm the host of the show, and here I am. And I tend to gravitate towards much more world-specific mythology. I love reading a book like this, where I can find a really super cool mythology. I'm constantly rereading Lois McMaster Bujold's World of the Five Gods, which has the mother, the father, the son, and the daughter, and the bastard, which I think is really great. You know, you can count them out on your hands and all that great stuff. But if I'm going to be modeling my religions along something for most of my fantasy games, I'm generally going to be modeling off of the Celtic mythos, that solid polytheistic nature god and goddesses sort of thing with a very active other world of dead and especially hero cycles. I really love a great set of hero cycles. I always know that if I'm giving it a little bit of a Celtic flair, it always feels solidly, and that feels in tune with the whole idea of heroes, and that's what I like my characters to be, so that's what I make my religions to look like. So like I said, if it's not a strictly homebrewed mythology, I will go Celtic. And like Rob, I have a Celtic tree tattoo with a dragon on it.
Karen, do you have a tattoo of anything Greek?
I do not.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I've just got my
Good.
Discworld, my Avatar: The Last Airbender, my Lord of the Rings.
Okay, good.
You should probably
No,
get a
'cause-
tattoo of the Steam page that Hades 2 is on.
Yep.
Just get it.
The whole page.
The whole page.
It's already burned into your retina. You might
Yeah.
as well put it ourselves.
So moving from our favorite mythology
To me, talking about the City of Brass. The City of Brass is the first book in a trilogy, the Daevabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty, and this story starts out, I guess, a alternate Second World Egypt that is taking place shortly after the French move in, and from there move to this sort of mystical area of the City of Brass, where all of these jinn and there's all of this really interesting tribal sort of interactions and people playing for power. And this all comes to a head. Our two main characters who journey to this place sort of get embroiled into this, and we definitely find out that everybody is in trouble. That's my interpretation of the first book. I know Karen would have more to say about this, so go ahead, Karen. Tell us what you think about it.
This is one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. The characters are all so well done. Everybody's got so much depth. Like, the people who are quote unquote good have bad sides, and the people that are terrible sometimes do good things. Even like the side characters feel like fully fleshed out characters. It's amazing. And the two main characters, Ali and Nari, I love them both so much, not least because they're both such big nerds. As
That's
both
true.
of Percy and Rob will attest to, when I make a character in a role-playing game, I am always the person that's like, to the library! And both of them just, they love books and they love finding out new knowledge and new things, and they're wonderful. So yeah, I highly recommend the full series. And then there's also a fourth book that is short stories, are prequels during the series, and then also wrap things up really nicely.
This trilogy is just like the definition of epic, right? If you want to read an epic fantasy novel and you're tired of your Western Game of Throneses and stuff like that, this is something to read because it goes into so much magic and fighting and political intrigue and romance, and it's just got everything in it, and it's all done so well. I've read the whole trilogy as well, and they're chunky. If you like a big chunky book, they're detailed and in depth.
It's also fun to, I don't know, I didn't know a lot about Middle Eastern mythology. So these books inspired me to look so many things up. Just from the geography, I was comparing the front of the book map to what is actually there in our world, to looking up all the different types of fashion, because they talk about a lot of silhouettes that people are wearing, and also weapons that people are using that are not things that I'm familiar with, though some of them, yes, from Diablo, we've picked up. So yeah, it just really made me want to learn more the whole time.
Yeah, I started out going, I don't know if this book's for me, but then oh boy. And by the end, I was like, oh, this is great. It was so terrible revelations.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's terrible. I love it. Like Game of Thrones level terrible, but
just
good.
wait, Rob. Keep going. Just
terrible.
wait.
It gets worse. Good.
There's going to be so much
boy.
stuff. Yeah.
It gets worse, but it
boy.
also gets better.
There's definitely some character torturing going on in this, no question. And
Yeah.
I suspect we're going to lose some really exciting people before this is over. So,
Oh yeah.
oh boy.
You got to put your characters through the fire to really temper them and bring them out as, heroes or good villains or what have you. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we have to work in air, water, and wood into the conversation. We just had fire and metal, so those are the 6 elements.
Really show their
Jason,
metal.
would you
Kindly explain to us what sort of game system you think would be great to put these characters through this level of development and through this process of hardening into these fantastic characters?
Sure. So I'm going to be a bit of a shield and talk about Pathfinder 2nd Edition because, like the trilogy here, there are like half genies, right? Essentially, you're humans and genies sort of getting together, and the different types of genies, the Marids and the Ifrits and whatnot. So like Pathfinder 2nd Edition has a versatile heritage kind of system in your ancestry. So you could be a dwarf who's half Ifrit, or you could be an elf who's half Marid or whatever. So I would definitely use that and sort of like ensure that people are playing. You'd have to do a little more restrictions on. There are no goblins in this book. There are no cat people in this. So a lot of restrictions on what you can take, and maybe a little bit restrictions on like some of the classes in Pathfinder. But starting there and maybe adding some sort of to have the Zulfikar weapon. Someone's going to have to be wielding that at some point. You'd have to make some prestige archetypes essentially, for this game to really model it. I'll always throw out a sort of a generic system as well that could possibly work. And like I think Cypher would be pretty fun to be like, because you got those little different dices. Some people are, maybe Nari kind of doesn't start out so good at healing. Maybe that's like a D6, but then it becomes a D10, D12 for her when she learns all the magic. So having that kind of a system where you can get better and switch around what you're good at, what you're bad at. I mean, sure, Nari does her con, artist, and thief stuff later on, but she sort of focuses less on that. So a system that kind of lets you switch up stuff would be.
That is one thing that is really cool, that you do definitely see characters switch over from one sort of kind of character to another kind of character. And that is something that, as much as we enjoy the
Pathfinder system,
that isn't necessarily the best for that particular part.
Yeah.
Rob, did you want to talk next about systems?
Sure. I have played 7th Sea
Mhm.
2nd Edition for a bit, like a couple of one-shots at a con, and I bought the books. I kickstarted it a while back. They did a very good job of this kind of huge alternate history world called Thea, and one of them is the Crescent Empire, and it's pretty decently fleshed out region area. It is more like historically oriented, but it's swashbuckling adventure with some magic and creatures and things. So it's an easy port, I think, to immerse somebody into a more fantastical version of that world, but not by much, It doesn't take much. It's a fun system, and I think it would work pretty well for this, a
Rob,
focus.
I want to
on
ask
that region.
something that
It has
just
all
occurred
the
to me
cool
just now, Rob.
swordsmanship and
With some
oaths
extra sort of tweaks
and
here
all
and
the
there.
rules
Do you
that
think
come with
Fortune's Fool would be kind of
dealing
fun to
with
play with this?
Marids
And like,
gin and all that.
especially for torturing and to putting characters through the shit.
Yeah.
The old days.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Like Jason and
It was
I
a little
wrote
earlier
game
on
at
in the
one
history of the
ME
world,
back
and
in
where,
the
where
olden days of
Daevabad trilogy is like the
2009. We also
1700s-ish,
focused on an alternate
1800s-ish,
historical version of the world with a lot of magic and yeah,
Celtic goblins.
the
Yeah.
quote unquote races were more nationalities, Russian dwarves, Russian orcs, and
Yeah,
Middle
just
Eastern dwarves and
the base of it would be
goblins
fun,
from
yeah.
Europe.
It
But
was a
also
tarot-based
this place.
system. Just
Celtic
is one thing
goblins,
that
right?
was
Things
sort
like
of
that.
interesting. And it was like,
So it was very much.
and you would pull some
that.
things
But
and
yeah,
just
we
get
could
really, really
tweak it
unlucky.
a bit, and you got a little.
wow, guys, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Karen, do you want to go
Sure.
ahead and tell us about your gaming system?
I'm gonna go
Also, it was
old
cool because
school,
it's tarot
and I'm
based.
picking D&D because I think this is a very easy thing to port right over.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah,
while
yeah.
reading these books, I can picture what everybody's character class is while you go along. Like Nari's obviously the thief who changes professions, yes, or character classes. Ollie's like a paladin.
Hey.
Muntadir, I guess, is some kind of sex bard, but he's got those kind of like silver tongue powers. But it works perfectly. It's kind of classic system. They have a lot of the monsters. I mean, you've got the genies in there already and whatnot. But you can also add new ones like the Karkadon. I don't think that's in the monster manual. I was trying to search through for some stuff. It's got fun magic items, it's got cursed magic items, and also the idea of going from like regular world into where like, a hidden city is. It's sort of a different interpretation on like going to fairy. You can take your adventuring party off into a different world. Well, all of a sudden there's new rules for everything. So I thought it'd be fun.
I remember the Karkadon stuff because I was at the time sort of working on something like that. It could be considered like a unicorn type of thing. I think people have thought of it in the past, but only because
or rhino.
Right, only because it is in fact a rhinoceros. It's like the questing beast was essentially a giraffe, but the Karkadon is like what people didn't know. Well, didn't know, but that's what their name for what it was. It's like, oh my god, it's a one-horned horse with skin like armor. I'm like, okay, well, you think about that. Oh, yeah,
it's a rhino, but yeah, I mean, the one in the book is terrible and huge and 20 feet tall.
That's a dire rhinoceros, if anything.
Yeah, it's awful.
Dire rhinoceros. Oh my god. So for mine, I went digging to find something. This isn't something that I've played, but I did find Carphanum, which is a Middle Eastern game that is set after the Third Crusade, which has lots of major cities in it. So you could steal one of those to be City of Brass. Rob, when we talked about this beforehand, this game has what's called the dragon die, which is the special die that you get because you're a player. You said that was similar to another game. Probably then based a lot on that because it definitely has that there. One of the things I really liked about the background in it is that it has your
Savage
background
Worlds,
is your blood.
which has
and this
the wild
spends
die,
a lot of
which
time
is
talking about
PC,
bloodlines
you're a wild card.
who are related to people and all that sort of thing. So I think that's great. It also has a very free form magic systems. The interesting thing about it is that your character needs to learn the right magic words, and that's how you progress, by learning these specific magic words. And when they were talking about magic, at least in the first book, they spent a lot of time talking about, well, you don't have to say it all the time, but at the beginning, say the word out loud, healing and passion and all that stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, that is definitely what this Carphanum is hinting at in their magic system. And finally, the other two parts of player development are you have to have a heroic virtue, and that heroic virtue is that gets played against you as well as for you, and that definitely happened in the first book for sure. And then there are archetypes, like rogues and paladins and loyal sons. So between the really cool dragon die and the neat character development and the setting, I think this Carphanum is a great place to start. But once again, haven't played it. My recommendation, without having played it and only read it, which unfortunately accounts for a number of the game systems that I own,
Sure.
the vast pile of things that I have read and never got. Everybody turns, looks at their shelves, and goes, yes. There you are, Bunnies and Burrows. I have yet to get someone to play the Bunnies and Burrows Watership Down role-playing game yet. Someday it will happen. Oh, I also wanted to throw in, just because Rob mentioned the cool books in Seven Seas, there is actually, in another game that I have played before, Ars Magica has a whole series of books. I think the book is The Cradle and the Crescent, which has a whole djinn-based set of magics there.
The Cradle and the Crescent, like all Ars Magica magic systems, has adjectives and verbs and nouns, and it's all very word-heavy constructed. So if you're looking for something that has magical words, like this book does, I would definitely recommend Ars Magica. Okay, so let's move on to our portable section. And we're going to move to you, Karen, first, because I know this is your favorite book, and I'm looking forward to hear what your favorite parts of this book are.
Okie doke. What I really especially like this time reading through were all the like weird magical ailments and curses that Nari had to deal with. Like there were things like, oh, someone's hand got turned into flowers, or you got iron poisoning, or you got turned into an apple. And then there were like weird ass cures for all of them. In the second book, and this is like, it's not a spoiler because it's kind of a throwaway, there's the shapeshifter that has to keep coming back to Nari because he has rock growths on his organs because he won't stop turning into a statue. And she's like, just stop turning into a statue. And he's like, no, it's so peaceful. I don't want to stop. So I feel like taking this and combining with the fact that I've been binging The Pit recently, maybe making some kind of game where it's, you know, a magical pit, or ER, where the player characters are trying to solve all these medical mysteries in a very short period of time, and calling in like 10 cc's of unicorn blood, or I need you to go grab me this like weird iris from the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. I think it could be fun. And also, at the same time, they kind of talked about in the first book, it's used later, healing magic being used as a weapon. If you take the flip side, like people being able to break bones from far away or stop someone's heart or stop them from breathing or whatnot. I think that is such a cool mechanic to have for a villain in a book.
Jason, you found a game that was... It's in the chat. It was called Blood Clot, a gothic horror medical RPG.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I just found it on itch and it looked wild. So, I might check that out at some point because, the idea of just sort of the idea of going like, just basing adventures, you could do it in almost any system being like, oh, I need you to go here to get a thing that it will be curing something else. That's great. That's a great idea for a quest or just doing that over and over again.
But I also really like the idea of putting together a medical drama game set in a fantasy world. I think that would that could be very interesting, and it isn't something that I've done before. Maybe that's going to have to be our next book. We'll have to find a medical book and see if we can't figure out how we're going to
turn that into a tabletop game.
I don't see how that goes.
Okay, Jason, why don't you tell us about your portables from the City of Brass?
Yeah, I enjoy the concept. I love the City of Brass itself is basically hidden from human eyes, and I just love anyone who knows me knows the stuff like the secret world beneath the world is always a trope that I like to play with in a lot of campaigns. And so, just the idea of this hidden city. It's not exactly a Brigadoon where it disappears and it's not there. It's there. If you're not allowed to see it, you don't see it. So you could always just sort of be like in any campaign, like bring it in like, oh, that big empty plane, I'll hit this part of the map that maybe you guys weren't paying any attention to. Oh, there's actually a city there full of a bunch of people who were spying on you or whatever. And magic was just keeping it cloaked and invisible. Similarly, like a city out of time, a city that's like does actually appear because it was frozen in time for a long time. I think didn't World of Warcraft do something like that, Rob? There was that one city that was just basically frozen in time for forever, and then it came out of time.
Yes, you can interact with them.
Now it's there.
Yeah,
right?
like you would watch them replay history over and over as it rewound itself. Yeah.
But now it's blam. Now it's here, and all the people who are in it are back to normal. And what do they have to do? Obviously that's nothing. It didn't happen in this book, but like this sort of secret hidden city is always something I like.
Rob, you want to continue on and give us your portables?
Yeah, I love the high fantasy action adventure, punch 'em up, sort 'em up, right? But this had a lot of social ramifications to those things, right? Sword fight's not just a sword fight, right? You draw that weapon, you better have a real good reason and a real good perspective on it. People viewing what you're doing need to understand why you're doing it. Someone goading you to hit them or hurt them maybe have an ulterior motive to making you do that. You may have heard him say something terrible, some truth about you or that enemy that you need to stab them for, but that's the king's son. Why is he drawing a blade on the king's son? And that's all the onlookers see is you drawing a blade on the king's son. Doesn't matter what he said. They don't know what he said. Only you do. So you may have gotten yourself a moral victory by cutting him, but now you're hated, right? Your social standing is now in deep jeopardy for what you've done. So that sort of social aspect to a fight matters. So I want to pull that out of that setting and use it, in another game. Like I think Burning Wheel does social combat like that pretty well, but the Dune RPG by Modifius also has an interesting way of combat and social being very intermixed. And I think that's a great aspect to pull into a game.
Yep. It's more difficult when you've actually got civilized rules.
That's you.
Actually have to follow all the... all right. High praise for Chakraborty's world building. I really feel like everything it's archaeological in the layers that occur there. I love layering of history that's there. It's a perfect world building thing. The island that the City of Brass is on was originally a Marid island, sacred to them, and then the Deva come there and they end up being there, and then from there the current establishment takes over from the Deva, and the idea that that group is sitting on a Deva throne that's on a Marid island, and yet they're the ones who are in charge, and do they know all the secret things, and do they really understand why there's a Marid boat that can get the only Devas off of the island, that kind of a thing? I was like, oh, that was just all built into everything that was happening. That's a sign of a great world builder. And that's what I try and do when I'm building my worlds. And so this was really like, oh yeah, perfect. This is just the perfect way to kind of look at that. Also, anytime I can get flying lions, I'm on board. Like just it's like Shedu statues that come to life when the true bloodline reveals itself. Oh, that was so good.
We all did great.
So that's it.
Yeah,
Those are my
good
Good
for
for us.
All right, so we've covered the mechanics to make a TTRPG and discussed what would be portable into our own games. Time to talk about media. Media with similar vibe to give ourselves additional inspiration to help create things like the City of Brass.
Karen, do you want to lead us off on this one?
As usual, I have way too many. I'll start off with The Golem and the Genie by Helene Wecker, which is a wonderful book, and there's a sequel too, about a female Jewish golem and a male Arabic genie who are immigrants to New York City in the late 1800s, and them having to deal with the world both supernaturally and in a mundane sense. And if you're like me and like New York City history, there's a lot in there that you can just learn about kind of like the time period. I didn't even know that there was like a little Arab section in downtown New York. That was real, and I had no idea because they bulldozed it. Because of course they did. Also, I would recommend Jingo, because I can't get through something without recommending a Discworld book. And this one, it is in the Watch or Guard series. Terry Pratchett manages to sort of hilariously parody a mix of 1001 Nights, Lawrence of Arabia, and the JFK assassination, but like all while delivering hard truths about racism and colonialism. It's wonderful. It's so good. And then finally, Shannon Chakraborty actually has a huge list of recommendations on her page if you like her Daevabad series. She has a bunch of fiction and nonfiction. From there, I read The Pasha of Cuisine by Sagan Erson, which is amazing. The premise is that like a chosen one is born with the gift of like natural gastronomy every once in a while. And the main character is going on all these adventures to sort of hone his cooking skills in all these culinary disciplines, and then like somehow use that to save his girlfriend from the Imperial harem. And I actually took from this for the Strixhaven campaign I was running for Rob and some other people, the mad fishmonger Bayram from there, who is the fish and seafood master and has like the best fish soup in the world with 22 ingredients. Rob's character had the choice to go study with him, which I don't think you did, but
I think I did.
no, I think you went with actually my old player character from a different D&D campaign.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, Rob, do you want to give us your media choices?
Yeah, I would like you to play the Tales of the Arabian Nights board game because it's hilarious, fun, completely chaotic, but based on all the myths from that region. You know, you move around the board and then you'd have to roll on multiple charts, and there's a whole giant book of charts. And if nothing else, when I play games with Karen, we have to involve a chart.
Charts.
Multiple.
At least. And if we don't, they're not in the game, we make a chart before the game. So like, as a random example, we played in like a weird, is it Swedish game that Matt ran where we were all ducks?
Oh God, what?
Yeah.
Right?
It was like D&D and we were all ducks.
Yeah, like it's a very serious race in the game. And like, you know, it's elves, dwarves, and ducks. Don't ask any questions, okay? They're ducks, and they have an anger problem because I guess they really loved Donald Duck. And before the game, I wrote a list of like 100 names to pick for your character, and they were all duck based. So I'll put that in the chat. I'll find it, I'll put it in the chat. Anyway, duck names like
100.
Yeah, like a first name and last name, Quacksworth Webbington, you know, things like that, right? So anyway,
From Rob,
Tales of Arabian Nights.
DuckTales fan fiction. He just had a backlog of.
Oh yeah, that's all. I just compiled it from all my fanfic. The Tales of Arabian Nights board game is fun. Like, you know, you open it's a weird trap might happen on a roll, or you meet this djinn.
Right, yeah, what do you do?
What happens? Make a wish. What does that wish fuck you up? Probably, or maybe not. You know,
turns you into a beast, and you can't win the game.
Right, that's what. It could definitely completely ruin the game. It's like Talisman if you've ever played that game, but possibly even worse. It's great.
Yeah, even worse. You get forced to be married against your will, and you have to like every 3 turns return to this one town because that's where your wife is. You know, your spouse. Are like, okay, this is gonna be impossible for me to win this game now.
Okay, I am stunned. It's fantastic. Jason, you want to tell us about what kind of vibes your media is going to give us?
Guess what I found? I found a video game called City of Brass from 2018.
What?
I don't think it's necessarily going to be very good. I just found it accidentally when I was looking at the novels wiki.
Is it unrelated or related?
It's unrelated. It's procedurally. It's Arabian Nights themed. stuff, but I don't think it has anything to do with the City of Brass is almost mythological thing, I think, from the like elemental, like at least in like D&D stuff. It's like it's in the elemental plane of fire. It's where the fire genies come, live and whatever. So if it's any good, don't worry about that. Here's another game that maybe you is only vaguely related, but is old and is probably very problematic, which is of course Quest for Glory 2, Trial by Fire, very also Arabian Nights themed. But I was talking about a game more or less because all the recommendations Karen gave it on the novels web page are probably way better than anything I could talk about. So a video game that kind of gave me semi-similar vibes is a point-and-click adventure called Unavowed. It's by Wadjet Eye Games, and it sort of takes place in New York. And it talks about this hidden mysteries of the sea. And there's all sorts of weird nonsense going on, and ghosts and demons. And you basically, the character you play was possessed by a demon, and you wake up and you're like, oh, I did a bunch of terrible stuff when I was possessed, and I don't remember any of it. And you're like murders and cults and stuff like that. And then it's like, oh, I was terrible. And then you have to kind of unravel. And you get this unavowed as this unavowed society, which is a bunch of people who fight back against all of these things. And some of them are a little bit immortal. And there's like a pyromancer from the 16th century or something like that. He's like really old. And I think one of the characters is basically a genie of some kind, or the daughter of a genie. So that's pretty fun. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the heck out of that. But for reading, I would say tangentially related. There's a brief comic book series called 8 Billion Genies. And the premise of it is, what if suddenly, just like on the same day at the same exact time, every person on Earth gets their own genie? You're allowed to make one wish with that genie. The comic book talks about the apocalypse that would occur if everyone got one wish. It does this very interesting thing that goes like, the first volume is like 8 seconds after it happens. The second volume is 8 minutes, and then it goes 8 hours, 8 months, 8 weeks, 8 years, 8 centuries, 8 decades later. So you see like how the world changes, because people are wishing for superpowers, people are wishing for all the money, stuff like that. And like some people are saving their wish because they don't know what to do with it. And so and the genies are just little ghost guys that kind of float around. They're like, what's going to happen? I don't know. And they're vaguely Great Gazoo-ish kind of imps in a lot of ways. So, but that was a fun read. So check that one out.
Cool. I want to try that.
Yeah, those all sound good. I'm going to recommend The Throne of the Crescent Moon, which is a book we're actually already doing on the podcast. So that one was super easy.
That's cheating.
It is a little cheating. I've already recorded that one. So you guys are recording it second. So it is set in a city, but that city is human. And there aren't jinn, but there are ghouls, and there are some other minor magics, but there isn't the big magic that you see in this book. So in that regard, it is not the same. That it's written by Saladin Ahmed. He's written a bunch of Marvel comics, which is very disappointing because this book is supposed to be the beginning of a series. And then he got hired by Marvel, and now he doesn't have time to write the rest of the book. This is a closed story. I don't want to scare anybody away from the book. So The Throne of the Crescent Moon by Saladin Ahmed, absolutely on theme for what we're doing here. The next one is A Master of Jinn by P. Jelly Clark, which has jinn and it takes place in Egypt around the same time, except the jinn are integrated into the society. And just because it is one of my favorite books of all time, I recommend Haroun and the Sea of Stories by Salman Rushdie. That is a fantastic book. It is vaguely Arabian themed, but that doesn't matter. Talk about a magical world on the moon. And so you are going away to someplace else. And it has the good storyteller feel that I think this book has, and a lot of really good Arabian books have, that the idea that you're being told this story by a master storyteller, and that respect for story is here in S.A. Chakraborty's Very Well Told Story.
All right, let's move on to promotions. Does anybody have one?
Actually, want to recommend the podcast, What Should I Read Next? Because the reason I read this book was I was a guest on that show, and she recommended this to me. So it's awesome to listen to. They're also always looking for guests, so I recommend listen. If you want books randomly recommended to you, fill out their little form there. And Anne Bogle is so freaking spot on with exactly what you want to read. Every book she gave me was exactly what I wanted to read.
I mean, I read this book because of that podcast as well, but because it was recommended to Karen. I'm afraid to go on that because I'm afraid I'd just get recommended the same books you got recommended.
No. She won't. And I've talked to her afterwards, and she'll recommend me like other books, and she's always spot on.
Very good. Okay.
Fantastic. Always looking for new books. That's part of what this podcast is about. So that's fantastic. Anybody else? Promotions?
I mean, I just got an email from Jason's company, Paizo. And,
Oh man, I was gonna say something about Paizo.
well, this is,
What are you gonna say?
it was called Power Word Meal. It's a charity to feed children.
Yeah, charity. It'll be over by the time this airs, of course.
Well, whatever.
but,
I'm sure you can still donate to kids the food.
You sure can, but the promotion that we're kind of doing right when we're recording this is that we're also in the process of a backer kit for a board game that's called Pathfinder Quest, which has a little bit in common with Tales of the Arabian Nights because it has a book where you read from it when you make decisions, and there's different things. Whether you succeed or fail at a roll, you get some different decisions. So it's got some of that vibe in it. Right now we're at like $500,000, so that's pretty great. But every donation to that, we're also giving a meal to this Power Word meal. Power Word meal, right? I was going to say Power Word eat, Power Word food,
Power Word gorge.
Power Word snack.
Feels like something that you cast in
Yes,
When
it's
you're
Power
about to
Word
die.
Meal. I'll put a link in the Flips cord. Save lives with the TTRPG community. It's very nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of also other people donating to this as well right about now. So that's pretty great. Listen to this way too late. Go check it out anyway and see if you can't give it a donate.
Sounds like a plan. All I want to say is thanks, guys. This was super fun again.
Yeah, I always love it.
Again.
And it continues to be fun. So I'm very excited.
And that was The City of Brass, the first book in the S.A. Chakraborty's Daevabad trilogy. Thanks so much to our game masters of Myth and Legend, Karen Ford, Jason Keeley, and Rob Tremarco. They'll be back to explore Victorian steampunk London when they discuss Solus, the first book in the Parasol Protectorate by Gail Carricker. Next episode, Oren and Ari Ashkenazi of the Mythcreans podcast, along with our own Chris Granis, discuss Jim Butcher's steampunk adventure, The Aeronauts Windlass. You can find a complete transcript of today's discussion, as well as links to all of our podcasts at k-squareproductions.com/GMBC. You can learn about upcoming episodes on our social media on Blue Sky at gmbookclub.bluesky.social, on Facebook at Game Masters Book Club, on Mastodon at Game Masters Book Club, and on Instagram at Game Masters Book Club. If you've enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and comment on our episodes in your chosen podcasting space, and be sure to share those episodes with your gaming community. You've been listening to the Game Masters Book Club, brought to you by me, Eric Jackson, and K-Square Productions. Continued praise and thanks to John Corbett for the podcast artwork and Otis Galloway for our music. Later, gamers, and to paraphrase the great Terry Pratchett, always try to be the place where the falling angel meets the rising ape.